yourself.
Professor, there is no parsing?
Yeah, no parsing, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, morning, brothers and sisters, no parsing today.
Sir,
Oh, yes.
uh, for the grammar, number 3, do we need to write in the sentence, English sentence, or is just arrow okay?
Which one?
Hear me?
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Which one, number 3? Grammar 3?
The rules, do we have to make it as an English sentence, or just can we use just arrows?
Arrows are okay, yes. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah, grammar number 3, you don't need to write out so many words. You can use arrows and any illustrations. Yeah. Thank you, Hauka.
Professor, I have a question. Professor, I can't hear you.
Okay, Jason.
What's the different in grammar? What's the difference between 1 and 2? First one and the second, because the answer of the second one is given in the number 1.
Yeah. The number 1 is about the number 1 is about the definition.
Okay.
Yeah. The number 2 is asking for the 3 contract vowels.
Okay.
Yeah, the number 1 is definition. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand the grammar number 4.
Number
The mean.
So it's about what letters can form this one. For example, oh no. So this one will become what?
Yes.
Almost
Number 4 and
number
number 5 are switch.
3, 4, 5 is almost the same. Number 3, 4, 5 is almost the same.
Number 3, 4, 5. Number 3 is about the rules. Number
Yes.
4 is this one will become what? So if I put an arrow, so please look at the screen. So if I put a arrow, so this will become what?
Okay.
Oh,
Thank
and
you.
number 5 is the opposite
If there is
direction.
no
Huh?
Sir, can it be just a dash, not an arrow, sir?
Yes, sure. So something like this.
Okay.
So number 4, this one will become what? And number 5, this one can be formed by what? Okay, so you may use the arrows. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Actually, the grammar is almost about the same thing, the big 5 rules. Okay, just help you practice to be familiar with these 5 rules. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
In grammar number 5, if the same contraction is given, please don't give the same answer. Okay. So especially this oo. So there are 3 possibilities. So list each one of the possibilities. Do not answer B, C, D as the same answer. Okay. Has everyone finished? All finished?
No, sir, I'm not finished.
Yeah. So if you have finished, if anyone of you have finished, you may upload the file and you may write down the paradigm of care, hand. Yeah. It doesn't appear in your PPT you download from the Moodle, so you may copy and write down. This is the paradigm of the care. And we will start our class from 8:20, okay? 3 more minutes for you to finish the quiz. Okay, shall we start? Morning, brothers and sisters. So today we are going to learn chapter 18. So we just have 3 more chapters to finish Greek 1. So praise the Lord. And today we are going to learn present, middle, passive, indicative. And before that, this is the paradigm for care, hand. And notice it is end with the letter rho, and every form has a except dative plural. And there's no vowel between rho and C. Okay, so but the A will be reduced to A. Okay, so please write down this, including the X marks. Okay. Okay. In English, we know the active voice means the subject performs the action. So we can say we are finishing Greek 1. So we perform or we do the action of finishing. The passive voice indicates that the subject receives the action of the verb. Greek 1 is being finished by us. So the subject, Greek 1, is the subject that receives the action. So the action is performed upon the subject. And the performer of the action is usually indicated by a prepositional phrase. The indicator is usually by. So who does the action? Who do the action? It is we. So we do the action, and the Greek 1 receives the action. So in English, in the simple present tense, we just simply add be verbs is, am, are before a past participle of the verb to show it is the passive voice. So it is done by Hoka. So we supply a be verb and before the past participle to show it is the passive voice in the simple present. In the present continuous, also we need the be verb is, am, are. Also we need the past participle also, but between the be verb and the past participle, we need supply being. So it is being done by Hoka. So Hoka is doing something, and it is being done by Hoka. Okay, that's the difference between simple present and present continuous in English. So many times we will see by in the sentence if passive. Only when the author or the speaker he or she does not tell us who is the performer, or the performer is not important, or the performer is not obvious, then we cannot see by. Usually we will see by in the passive sentence. Okay, this is the English. We are familiar actually. So this is the chart for present, active and passive to compare active and passive present. Time is controlled by helping verb. Helping verb am, is, are tells us is in the present. If we see words were, then past. If we see have been, it's past perfect. Okay, what is new today is the middle voice. Middle voice. In English, there's no middle voice. Difference between middle and active voices is so slight that in English, people usually ignore the middle voice. So many times we just translate middles as actives. Okay. Oh, no more English. It is should be. Okay. So no middle voice in English, and in Greek. Please do not pay too much attention to middle voice. The difference between the middle and active voices in Greek is also slight. Is also often slight. And many times we just take the middles as actives. Although the middle Greek words in middle, they do not appear at the same as the words in active, because the middle words, the words in middle, they take different personal endings, and we call the personal endings for middle voice, we call them middle passive endings, or this word, media passive. Why we call them middle passive endings or media passive endings? Because middles and passives, they are using the same personal endings in the present tense. So for the middle and passive endings, we use these. So today, the most important task for you is to memorize another six endings. So we have learned OSA, usin, or usi for the present active. And now we need to memorize the endings for middle passive present indicative. So they are mai, sai, tai, mesa, sese, and untai. We will come back later because now we are talking about middle, and we will learn passive later. And the same, the middle and the passive, they are using the same endings. Okay, now let us talk about the middle voice. In Greek, we can talk about middle voice narrowly or broadly. In the narrow sense, the middle voice indicates reflexive or reciprocal, so meaning interaction. Only. So if you try to add the phrase for oneself, I wash hand for myself, I've washed dishes for myself. If it makes sense, then you can say it is in the narrow sense. but sometimes it doesn't make that sense. Then you can think broadly. In the broader sense, remember this phrase. Subject of affectedness. Subject affectedness. So scholars tells us the essence of the middle voice. The essence is that the subject is affected by the action of the verb. The subject is affected by the action of the verb. How the subject is affected? Then we can say like this: the subject still does the action, and if there is a direct object, the direct object still receives the action, then in some way the action comes back and affects the subject. So it's broader. In a narrower sense, the subject both does and receives the action. But in a broader sense, there will be a direct object. The subject still does the action, and the direct object still receives the action, but somehow the action comes back and affects the subject. So have you noticed the difference between the narrow sense and the broader sense? In the narrow sense, the action does and receives the action. The subject does and receives the action. But in the broader sense, the subject does the action. The object receives the action, but somehow the action comes back and affects the subject. Okay. So what is the subject affectedness? In details, to talk about subject affectedness, we can say sometimes the affectedness is also slight. Or words like ask. When we ask, usually we will ask for ourselves, but the affectedness is not that heavy. So for example, this sentence, this one is oigate. We know, so we do not know what we are asking. So in this situation, in this kind of situation, although I ask, so we ask, it used the middle passive endings, but in our translation, we still translate in the active voice. So we do not know what we are asking. And you can translate also in the middle voice. We do not know what we are asking for ourselves, but we do not translate in the passive. We do not use the passive voice to translate. We do not translate like this. We do not know what we are being asked. Okay. Sometimes the affectedness is obvious, and In certain circumstances, first, words like warm. In Mark 14:54, Simon was warming himself. Although the word himself does not appear in the text, we know Simon Peter was warming himself. And the words belongs to the realm of personal grooming. Personal grooming, the definition for personal grooming is about the art of cleaning, grooming of parts of one's body. So cleaning or grooming or making up parts of body. So like wash. And the third area is about describing change. Verbs describe change, especially the change of position. The effectiveness is obvious, like come and go. In your translation, you will notice this. So these verbs will tend to be intransitive. They will tend to not to take direct objects. So finally, context will tell us, decide everything. Okay. It is somehow not easy to understand, but never mind. It's not that important. And usually in your translation, when you meet the middles, you will notice they are middles. And this one is very helpful. The word deponent, we can also say middle only. So the definition for deponent is a word which is in the middle passive in form, but active in meaning. Like erkama, I come. So this word, this deponent verb appears in the middle passive form, but active in meaning, and it never has a passive meaning. So you cannot say I am come. We can only say I come, you come, he, she, it comes. We cannot never say he, she, it is come. Although in Old English, we can see become. If you read some Old English novels, you can see become there. So in our Bibles or in the lexicons, you will never see something like this. You will never see the active form of the verbs, of the deponent verbs. Okay? So you will never see this either in the Bible or in the lexicons. We can only see this, erkomai, the middle passive endings, but active in meaning. And then we call these verbs as deponent verbs. What is impossible for the deponent verbs? In one tense, If a verb is deponent, it will be deponent only. It will not be a regular verb. If a verb is regular, then it cannot be a deponent verb. So alchemy, deponent verb, it is a deponent verb. It will not be a regular verb. So we will never see something like alco, alcase, alk, alcommon. No, never. We can always see alchemy, alkay, alkatai, alkatai. Okay, but it is possible for a verb to be a deponent in one tense, but not a deponent in another tense. So alchemy may be a deponent verb in the present tense, but it may not be a deponent verb in another tense. For example, aorist. We will learn that later. So the lexical form will not be alco, but alchemy. So whenever you see a verb, if a verb ends with ami, then we are sure it is a deponent verb. So when you memorize the verbs, either in the vocabulary list or in the lexical form, in the lexicon, if you see the verb, the verb appears as this using the middle passive endings, then we are sure the verb is a deponent verb. How to parse? For example, alchemy, then third person singular present. Instead of saying active, middle, or passive, we say deponent. So use the term deponent for deponent verbs. Okay. So alchemy, I come, or I am coming. Okay. Any questions before we come to the passive? So to summarize about middle, the first thing is to see whether the verb is deponent or not. If in the lexical form, in the lexicon or in the Bible, it appears middle passive only but active in meaning, then deponent. So to talk about middle, the first thing is to make some judgment about whether the verb is deponent or not. If deponent, then very easy, middle passive in form but active in meaning. And then, if not deponent, so you have to make your you have to think about it, whether it is slight effectiveness or obvious effectiveness. Okay.
Sir, question.
Jordan?
Yeah, sir, in the parsing, even if it's third person, the deponent verbs, we are going to use I am, sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You're free to use to write whether I am coming or I come.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. The middle passive the same. Okay. Any other questions about the middle? Okay, let us learn passive first. So present passive indicative. The structure, present tense stem, and then connecting vowel, also and then primary middle passive endings, not active endings anymore, but middle passive endings. So what are the middle passive endings? There are 6 we need to memorize: my, sai, tai, metha, se, and untai. So comparing with the active personal endings, osa, amen, ete, usin. So nothing, is, I, men, te, unsi. So now mai, sai, tai, mesa, se, untai. I suggest you memorize the active endings together with the connecting vowels because it is easier. OSA, omaete usin, but I suggest you not to memorize middle passive endings together with connecting vowels. So just memorize my side tai, mesa, se, untai. Why? Because of the second person singular. Because if you memorize something like omai, ese, etai, omesa, ese, untai, then you have to memorize the second person singular. The second singular, it is a with a iota and iota subscript. Why it becomes like this? Because of this. We know the stem, present stem, tense stem, the connecting vowel for second person singular is epsilon, and the personal ending for second person singular is psi. So it should be this. Lu ese. But this sigma cannot stand between the connecting vowel and the other part of the personal ending. So this sigma must drop out. So remove sigma, we will have this, lu ai. And then these 2 letters must contract. So we know the rule number 5. Yeah, rule number 4 is alpha epsilon. Rule number 5 is epsilon alpha. So epsilon alpha will change to eta. And then finally this iota will subscript. Oh, then we have lu a. So the process is being shown here. So it is quite clear for you to know why the second person is lu a, not lu a psi. Okay, everyone is clear? Why the second person singular is lu a, not lu a psi.
Can you repeat? Can you repeat why the sigma cannot be there?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know why. I'm not a linguist. And in the textbook, the author tells us, if you have your textbook, you can read on page 184 and also 189, the same thing, the same explanation. In 18.8 or 18.20, the footnotes, the author Monks tells us why the sigma cannot be there. He says because the sigma occurs between vowels in the non-stem part of the word. Non-stem part means if the sigma appears within the stem, then the sigma will be there. But when the sigma appears any position other than the stem, then the sigma will be drop out. But for me, it is not that accurate. So here we know this sigma stands not within the stem, but after the connecting vowel. So it will drop out. But when we study the future tense in chapter 19, we will have tense formative. So there will be a sigma right after the stem, and then this sigma will not, this sigma as tense formative will not drop out. So better we say when the sigma appears after the connecting vowel, then it drop out. Okay. Okay. Well, after we study chapter 19, you will fully understand what I mean. So here we just say this: the sigma cannot remain after the connecting vowel. Okay, just one sentence. The sigma cannot remain after the connecting vowel. Why? I don't know. Maybe because of pronunciation, because many upload happens because of pronunciation. And we are not linguists. So actually, we do not read Greek very much. We analyze the biblical Greek, and usually we do not focus on reading biblical Greek. So we cannot feel or sense why the sigma must drop out because of pronunciation. Okay, so just remember one thing: the sigma cannot stand right after the connecting vowel. It must drop out. So remove the sigma, we will have alpha and epsilon together with the epsilon. Epsilon is the first one and alpha is the second one. Then contraction will happen. Then we will have eta, and then this iota will subscript, then A. Okay, so now you know why the second person singular is not A psi but A. So still memorize my psi tai, mesa se, and tai, and memorize a. Okay, so our task today, the first thing to memorize is my psi tai, mesa se, and tai. And in English, we know if a sentence is in the passive voice, usually we can see the word by. It is the same in Greek. So many times you will see the Greek by in Greek. It is hupa, by ender. If hupa followed by a noun in the genitive, its meaning is by, to indicate a personal agent. If followed by a noun in the accusative, then under. Oh, sorry, I didn't finish this one. And also sometimes you can also see in, and your translation can also be by. This in usually we translate in with, sometimes also by. Sometimes, not always, but this one always by. This one sometimes you may translate as by if you see the passive there, the passive verb there. And sometimes there's no hupa, there's no in, but simple dative. And usually the simple dative to indicate the passive voice, to show the impersonal instrument. So hupa for personal agent, the simple dative for impersonal instrument. So I was hit by Jason. So you may expect hupa there, but I was hit by a stone. I think. Okay. In your translation, you will see this. So, because the middle and the passive, the middle voice and the passive voice in Greek, the middles and the passives, they are using the same personal endings. So when we see a Greek word with primary middle passive endings, we have to make our choice, our own choice, whether it is in the middle or whether it is in the passive voice. So some hint here. So the first thing is to see whether it is a deponent verb. How? To look for the lexicon. Look for the verb in the lexicon. If the verb appears as a middle passive verb in the lexicon, you see "amai" there, then this verb is a deponent. So it is middle in form, but active in meaning. If not a deponent verb, then look for the indicators, the hupa, in, or simple dative. If the indicators are there, then we're very pretty sure they are the passives. And if there's no indicators, and then we see whether these verbs are the certain verbs to show, to indicate change or personal grooming, like sweep, clean, wash, those verbs, or come, go. These verbs indicating change of positions. Okay. And if all of these cannot tell you, cannot help you to make the choice, then try active first. You just translate the sentence, the verb, although the verb are in the middle passive form, but you try active translation. If it makes sense, like ask, then you use active in your translation. If the active meaning does not make any sense in your translation, then try passive. If passive does not make any sense, then try middle. Okay? So finally, context. Okay. The contract verbs, the middle passive forms of the contract verbs. So, agapao, poleo, and plerao. So they are like this. They're like these. Okay, agapomai, agapa, very simple. Why it is agapa? The sigma drops out and the contraction happens. Finally, we will have agapa. So let us do it and you will know. So should be agapa. The connecting vowel is this, and then should be this, and then this one disappears, and these two will become this, and will be also R, and then iota subscripts. Okay. So agapomai, agapa, agapatai, agaposmathe, masa, and agapase, agapotai. So please read after class by yourselves and to be familiar with the contract middle passive forms. Okay, vocabularies. So this one you see, it is a deponent verb. Apakri nomai, I answer. And we have learned the verb apakri say, he, she, it answered. The aorist form of this verb, this deponent verb. So apakri nomai, I answer. They, it is necessary, a particle of conjunction. Dunamai, I am able, I am powerful. So always alpha. So dunamai, I think second person is duna, dunatai, dunamen. No, sorry, my side. Dunametha, dunathe, dunantai, dunantai. Okay, so I am able. So remember always alpha. Arkamai, I come, I go. Nukes, the third declension verb for night. Night, nuktas, nukti, nuktas, nuktes, nuktoan, nuksin, nuktas. Okay. Sorry, not nuktas, nukta, nuktas. Accusatives, singular and plural. Hatis, hatis, hati. So this hati, notice not that hati. Not So that hati has no acute accent mark, meaning that since because this hati is formed by has and t's. So whoever, whichever, whatever. Pro alma, I go, I proceed, I leave. Soon ago, I gather together, I bring together, I lead. Gather together, the one who gathers together others, maybe a leader. So soon ago, sometimes you may translate as I lead. The leader gathers together others. So tapas meaning place, location. The last word is hos, meaning as or like, when or after, or simply that, or approximately. Okay, any questions? So to summarize, middle passive, present middle passives, first thing is to memorize the personal endings. My sai tai, metha, se, and tai. And notice the second person singular. The sigma must be removed, and then do contraction. Usually, finally will be eta or alpha with a subscripted iota. And second thing is to memorize the vocabularies. And third thing is about the middle. The middle is somehow troublesome, but not that troublesome. First, it is not that important. So many papers are talking about middle deponent, passive deponent, many, but as Merlin, the other Greek teacher, the other Greek teachers, Dr. Adrian or teacher Yap, Merlin Yap, we will usually say like this: who cares? But nobody cares, but we have to learn. We must have some basic ideas, although it is not that important. So good news, middle is not that important. Second, to see whether it is a deponent. If the verb is deponent, so it's very simple. Just middle passive in form, but active in meaning. So always, when you do translations with the deponent verbs, always always active meanings. So, but some verbs will appear in the middle passive forms, and they are not deponents. Then try active translation first. No. Do not do that at first. Look for the indicators first. If you see hopa or in or simple dative after a verb in the middle passive form, then probably passive. And if there are no indicators, just a simple verb in middle passive form there, then try active meaning first, like ask. We ask. Why you ask for this? So then you translate it in the active voice. Only if the active voice does not make any sense, then try passive, and then try middle. Okay? So the sequence will be deponent, passive indicators, and then some kind of certain verbs like come, go. Actually, come, go are deponent verbs. And other verbs like warm, wash, clean, grooming verbs. And then finally, try active in your translation first. Okay, so just this slide, the hint. Okay, this hint. If deponent, are there passive indicators? Are these verb those certain verbs? If all of these do not appear, then try active translation first. If not works, then try passive. If not works again, then try middle. Okay? So actually, in your translations, when you read the Bible or preaching the certain passages within the context, it's not that difficult to figure it out. Okay? Any other questions? If no, just go on doing the exercise of chapter 18 and practice. I think all the translations will be related to the middle passive verbs, the verbs in middle passive forms. So just do the exercise and practice and feel and experience how to deal with the middle passives. Okay? If no question, so we just stop here. And bye-bye and God bless you. Okay, the exercise is on the Moodle already. You may download and do it. Okay?
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah, if you have any question, you just feel free to email me, and you just read the textbook one more time, or my PowerPoint one more time. Okay, complicated, but at first not that important, and second not that difficult. When we really when we really do the exercises, do the translations, it's not that difficult. Okay? Okay, bye-bye and God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.